I should be streaming right now. So hello everybody. If you have the notification turned on, maybe you'll receive the stream notification. Find the screen here. Okay, so I'm guessing the chat should be active. And I look green everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to continue my work on MR.E. Let's do some recap and then let's look at a list of topics for today. So since last time, I have worked on dialogues and some like kind of level design. They are not entirely finished in terms of like Godot work. We are still looking at level 1 and level 2 as a copy of level 1. But the design of these levels will be dictated by some dialogue and story elements. And I've been working on those this week. So I'll let you read the first 10 levels, dialogues, and sort of like design elements. So that's kind of done. Minor change, I think I'm gonna go with visual markers for indicating the directions. This is something I mentioned. The position of this UI is of course off, but this is going to be the symbol the player will see on this wall. This red diamond will be somewhere here. So even if it's something little, I think this is going to give a better clue, you know, in determining which direction the player should go instead of arbitrarily labeling them as north, west, that kind of thing, or left, right. The notion of left, right is kind of meaning. So we'll go towards markers. I'm still debating in my mind whether there is going to be camera rotation in this game. And what does it even mean in terms of room layout? Like, is there supposed to be a wall here with its own elements, maybe a door? Maybe. If that's the case, imagine if we are looking through a camera that is placed here, but it's sort of like diagonal looking in this direction. And so naturally the wall here will have this symbol. So the player could move towards that. And similarly, this yellow is this wall's indicator. So maybe to make sense of these things, we can rotate, or I mean, even if we don't rotate, we still need to move this way sometimes to go around things, and maybe you go around this box and you come here because maybe there are 3 obstacles here, so you have to be here, so you have to go make right turn and another right turn, you have to arrive here. So these 2 markers will still make sense because they are going to be, this yellow will be the opposite of this, which is the opposite direction of kind of, you know, this moves to this wall and this one moves the opposite way. Same goes for blue and green. So that's that. And what else has been done? I discovered how to use let's see, RTC draft. Find the file for this. I'm just not sure where I put the file here. Let me see. Oh, this is going in the documents, right? Documents. Just not sure if it's this, because I've been using it in my laptop. Okay, I guess it's that. I never imported a project from a different machine. I'm hoping this is available now. So, are we here? Oh. I think what is supposed to happen is in my OneDrive has to load the assets for this project. Let's reopen this RTC. Still expecting to see something here. Okay. Kind of look weird, but I see some stuff here which is the relevant section. Tutorial. Yeah, I finished the tutorial in the other machine, so let's assume it's all done. Okay. So this is a great tool for designing levels and dialogue, story elements. Maybe I'll do a separate tutorial for this. For the time being, I think what I'm going to show is the intro and outro. This is something we wrote last week in the stream. So that would indicate the starting and the finishing conditions. This is the intro text, and when the player counts this way, so this is the outro text. So I'm handling that in level 001, or let's say level 1. So we have the intro dialogue and outro dialogue, but this is the whole dialogue itself, except in this case we have only one line, but it is spoken by MR.E. I believe just for test purposes I might have done something like this. Yeah, in the 4th level, let's say. Here. So there are going to be 2 lines. First, MR.E is going to say there's going to be a terminal there. You continue, and he's seeing that he's not alone, so he's wondering whether that unit there is friendly. And in the outro, when MR.E finds a terminal, recording basically welcomes him. So this person, Sophie, is saying this, and when we hit the continue button in the interface, we are supposed to see the second line, which is spoken by MR.E. So this is actually very useful because I can do branching out. If something is said, maybe there will be answers or interactions. So that's the kind of dialogue that I wrote. Interesting tool indeed, yeah. So that's actually a long-term goal. For the next few weeks, I'm probably going to keep it as lean as possible, but that's something that I'm gonna incorporate into my workflow for sure. For the time being, I'm designing my dialogues in this tool, which is called Nimble Writer. So basically, we are going to have an intro and outro for sure. Maybe, I believe it exists here. Yeah, sort of like a midpoint story elements. We may have more than one of these interim points. I'll explain that, I think, way in the future why that might be necessary. But so here are the lines, like we say something and now we have another line, we start the mission, we reach a point where we are going to conclude the end of level. In this second level, your character is supposed to pick up a fuel cell. So once you pick that up, you know, it feels much better. So let's find out what's going on. So we start level 3. So there's a flashing light somewhere in the room. So that's the mission. So the intro dialogue is essentially mission goals. So when you get to that terminal, I labeled this as 3, but I think in this one I was messing up with the numbers. So this is 4 here. So this is the recording. Sophie is going to say, right now we don't actually know her name yet, so that's why it's female voice. So she's basically saying, well, I hope you're okay. She's leaving this recording in haste. So there's going to be a terminal in the other room, which is going to enable them to talk live. So the first 3 levels are kind of very quick, you know. The idea is that the player will learn how to move around. Maybe that's why I was saying maybe you will have, where is it? A few sort of going left and right things, so you're kind of mastering the directions, and then maybe real mission objectives will be delivered at this point, which is level 4. So there's going to be a terminal in the 4th level, but there's also going to be an enemy unit, and at this point your player character doesn't know whether that unit is friendly or not. But there is kind of a warning, you know. There's some voice in the room, a booming voice. I'll get you. And then if you bump into that robot, then this dialogue will pop up. So this will show up here. Essentially, you lose the level, or you lose, like, this is the game over state. You are caught by this robot, so the robot has got you. But if you continue, so you talk to this female, and she's basically saying, well, it's good that we made it, that kind of thing. And I think this is probably what I'm going to do in brackets to notify the emotions or the... Let me back up. I need 2 elements here. One is scene description. The second is how the dialogue is conveyed. Sometimes when you read sentences on the screen, you may not have an idea how this person is saying those words. Are they angry? Are they sad? That kind of thing. So sometimes that may elevate the experience, because there is not going to be voice acting. It would be just too expensive for me to, you know, get anything like that done. So I'm trying to keep this as inexpensive as possible. So most likely the dialogues will be wrapped between double quotes, and then we can have some kind of scene description. Something like this. And then this would be the emotion. What's the state? What's the emotional state of that person saying this sentence? So here we are basically saying, well, our most immediate goal is to turn off a self-destruct sequence. So we proceed to level 5. So the female voice is saying that we have to deactivate both switches. The order doesn't matter, but we gotta do this second switch soon after the first one, meaning I think I'm going to put 3 turns as the rule. You turn off one switch, you have 3 turns until you access the second switch. You could still travel in the room, but you shouldn't take your time, that sort of thing. So beep beep beep, voice and text, that's enough, I think. Yeah, I think so. There is going to be some lights and sound effects, that kind of thing, to convey the emotional state. And so essentially the dialogue elements here are kind of defining what the mechanics are going to be, in which order, how complex they are going to be, that kind of thing. Here I'm introducing time sensitivity, or the turn, number of turns between 2 major events. So So while we are attempting this, the booming voice is basically saying, well, don't try. There's this evil presence, right? And if we can't turn it off, the interim dialogue is saying that, well, you cannot escape the inevitable, so we are all doomed. If we do finish it, this is level 5, then she's gonna say, splendid. This will, of course, give us more time. So we want to find out what's going on. So this is where I think it's okay to kind of calm things down a bit. Say, well, okay, we've been sort of moving around and there's this rush, like let's turn off the self-destruct mechanism. But now we can kind of talk about what's going on. So this female voice is revealing that there's this envious character. We are trying to thwart the plans of this envious, right? But she's also revealing that this envious's real name is or was Richard. So it's maybe important later why she's suddenly talking in past tense here. And now we are curious about what this person is, and she's saying, well, she's Sophie. Sophie is curious to know if we know who we are. And, well, as a player, when the game actually is done more, like if I execute more elements, we are no longer going to look like a capsule. This looks like a a pill, right? So it's going to look more like a robot. So as a player, you know you are controlling a robot, but from the robot's point of view, who's having this conversation, the robot doesn't quite know maybe who they are. So here's the I think this is that descriptive text, that this doesn't have to be any more statements. Maybe this is just normal text. This is going to be spoken text. So after looking at your body on a reflective surface, so the robot or you are saying that you think your designation is Mr.E. At least that's what you can see written on your body. So Sophie looking sad. Again, this is kind of work in progress. She's looking a little bit sad. Oops, this tool doesn't let me do that. So we gotta do the wrapping separately. So nice to meet you, Mr.E. Likewise. And then the conversation stops. There's some static. So the comm line is basically interrupted. So just don't know what's going on. So we move on to the next level. And Mr.E is now curious. So by the way, if you noticed, now the dialogue, the speaker, we have the proper titles instead of you and female voice. So I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of either ID system. So either Sophie and female voice share the same ID, or I'm just gonna have a text field, so it won't matter. I'm just gonna type like Sophie or female voice in the data structure. But at some point we now know who that female voice is, and we know our designation. So from this point on, whenever we see Mr.E, it's just us thinking or speaking out loud. So we don't know what happened to the comm line. Sophie sounded uneasy. Let's say Sophie here. Sophie sounded uneasy. But this envious character, I hope she's okay. Well, my immediate concern is to top up my battery. I seem to be running low again. So here I want to introduce the not urgency, but the so we picked up a fuel cell like 3 levels ago, or 4 levels ago. Apparently we need to refuel quite frequently, because maybe we have broken parts or there are some inefficient parts in our robot. So all these dialogue elements could be tied into game mechanics. So maybe we need an upgrade so that the battery doesn't run low quite frequently. That kind of thing. So after we pick up another fuel cell here, I guess we should look for a terminal. So in the other room, at this point, our communication with Sophie is broken. So we need to re-establish communication. So by accessing a terminal, Mr.E is imagining whether he could access Sophie or find more information. So that's what he's actually talking about here. This level 7's mission goal is basically accessing a terminal. And in this section, I'm probably going to introduce more enemy robots. And there are going to be static obstacles, like a robot is just looking in one direction, and if you get in their line of sight, you are busted. What game engine am I using? I'm using Godot engine. Right now I'm showing a dialogue tool, but Godot engine it is. So it's the latest beta, 4.0. So the second type of enemy will be one that is actually going from one end of the room to the other end of the room in one direction. So in terms of game directions, maybe between this wall and this wall. So something that actually traverses this room back and forth. Cool. Which version are you using? Because I'm finding some unpleasant things about the latest version, so curious. Meanwhile, so yeah, if you get busted, the booming voice is going to say, not so easy. By the way, at this point, it is still a booming voice. We have not identified the nature of this booming voice yet. So once we reach the terminal, we determine that it's locked. Mr.E is saying that he will need a pass card. Now, this is where I'm introducing the notion of inventory. This is not going to be an inventory system like you have in RPG games. Possibly no crafting, no chest logic, no combining, nothing like that. But very simple, a few items, that kind of thing. Just enough to keep moving the levels. You have work, you have to go. Yep, see you, man. And maybe I'll see you later again. Good luck with work. So the next level is where we are gonna look for a pass card. So he's saying, this is kind of like a, I guess, a criticism on what most people do. You know, people leave their passwords written on a piece of paper on their desk. Similar idea, right? So I don't know if it's a good thing that people leave their pass cards around, but I see one on the desk over there. So this is where we introduce the notion of like going and picking up things. So I will design the layout, so there will be challenges, but the task is to find a pass card. My project folder structure is lovely. Thank you. Project folder structure. Yeah. Yeah, I tend to be organized. I find that no matter what I do, like I'm never happy, but I think this is kind of like working. There is no golden rule really. It's just keep the mess to the minimum is the goal. Soon I'll actually work in here in maybe 5-10 minutes at most, because we are coming to the end of this level discussion. So at this point, when we get the pass card, the booming voice is introducing itself. This is where we interact with the booming voice that is saying it's far enough, what do you think you are doing? And we assume this booming voice is envious. Because in the interim dialogues, when you are caught, that's the end of the game, right? You don't have any more chance to talk to this guy. You're essentially dead, let's say. And here, when you get the pass card, envious feels threatened. So we're assuming, okay, you gotta be envious. That I am. You've been a thorn on my side since the day we met. So here's kind of our first clue. So, well, did we meet really? Like, I don't remember meeting you. That's what MR.E says. And there's this indifferent behavior. Envious doesn't care. You keep going and you won't have to remember much anymore soon anyway. So there is clear threat here. So envious is not happy with what we are doing. So level 9 starts with a longer dialogue. By the way, the first 10 levels will be the demo. So hopefully by the end of January, I will execute all this. And of course, today I will start executing 1 and 2. That's the goal, and maybe we'll go as far as 3. There will be a lot of things to do. That's why, like, it's unlikely to finish so many of these levels. They are just numbers, easy to count but hard to execute, right? So maybe pass card interim should be you shall not. That may well be. This is the pass card, right? Yeah, this is the, okay, level 8 is the pass card. Gotcha. Shall not pass. That may be corny and sort of like weird to introduce it here. But let's keep it there for now. So level 9 starts with another dialogue with our female character, Sophie. I think I've just talked to Envious, and she's saying, how did it go? He didn't say much except threaten me. I also think he said, we are all doomed. How? So, if you are... I don't want to make a blanket statement, but sometimes people read these texts carefully, and sometimes people just, you know, like they quickly read it. But in case you got the notion that there is a we, because Envious was saying, you are all doomed, there's a notion of, well, other people. It isn't just Sophie and the robot. There is a community here, kind of we, right? So Sophie's replying, I'm not sure if you noticed it, but we are on a spaceship heading to Titan. Envious took over the control of the spaceship. We are not fully sure, but we believe he has sinister plans. Can't you or I take him out? Sophie, after pausing slightly, I guess it's an uncomfortable pause. Yeah, I'll have to reorder those emotional statements. Well, he's the ship. If we take him out, there won't be much safety for all of us. So this is kind of like a shock to your system. So it's like this envious, evil voice, right? Well, that's the ship speaking to you. He's not a human character. So if we destroy him, well, we will be destroyed too. Where is the ship gonna, you know, go beyond that point? So MR.E is in shock. What? He also sounded as if he and I knew each other. Sophie is saying, you did before, and she's pausing again. There are so many things I would like to tell you, but we really have a pressing issue. And MR.E says, I feel like this is where you give me my next assignment, right? Unfortunately, after you disable the self-destruction, Envious has been trying new tricks to exterminate us. Could you access the panel in the middle of the room and hit the reset button? Okay, so this is your mission statement here. Level 9 is where you have to reach something. I'll probably try to find that something in this visual unfold point like that. Yeah, I have a few cliffhangers like that. I'm writing a lot actually. This is a very small portion of what I tidied up. So I'm probably going to have one of these props somewhere in the middle of the room. And I just checked this, the chat. I think you guys are seeing the game blurb. So there's going to be some kind of device in the middle of the room, and this mission is about pressing a button or accessing a device. So unlike previous levels, in this level the interim section is going to be more than MBS catching you. This is also where you can see some dialogue too. So once you do the button, Sophie will say, "Thank you. MBS has been messing with the air filtration system. We're just going to breathe a bit easier until we come up with a more permanent solution." At this point, Mystery is happy. He could help, but he's seeing one more system near the exit. He's asking for permission whether he should go ahead and reset that machine as well. So in this level, I am introducing multiple targets. This isn't the first time actually. The first one was the self-destruct. That was kind of like you do one and then you have 3 turns before you trigger the next button. This one is kind of new or different than the first one because there's some dialogue element, and the room design will also indicate that I have something in my mind. So the interim dialogues are also something that you can get information instead of just feeling like you are failing. So in the outro, this will do for a while until his next move. Sophie is relieved. Mystery is asking, why is he doing this? This is where I think I forgot Sophie's indicator there. We're not entirely sure, but we believe he's gone insane. He was always a bit troubled and rough around people. You are saying, I feel like you are talking about a person instead of a spaceship. Even the way you refer to an inanimate object as he, instead of saying it as the spaceship, she's been referring to this MBS character as he. So this is the revelation. That's because he was a human once, and after sighing, and you too. So this is one of those, I think if there's some music elements or some camera work, this is where you zoom in and that kind of thing. So we learned that we used to be a human too. We two never got along, but we worked together. That's another piece of information. So Mystery is in shock again. Am I a human in a robot's body? How can this be? Sophie, since you're part robot now, you can consume a vast amount of information a lot quicker than I can verbally deliver to you. You will find an access point to the mainframe in the next room. I'll get to that as soon as possible. And Sophie, I'll probably add some emotional statement here. Whatever you find out, I'll be here for you as long as possible. So I want to emphasize here something that will make the player think that Sophie is probably guessing whatever we'll find out will be even more upset. So this is kind of a foreshadow. So level 10. So this will be the last playable level in the demo. So intro. After the last big revelation, I wanted to keep it very short here in the intro. So we just need to access the mainframe, but MBS has already sent a few minions. So we will go around them and access a mainframe. So I'm just gonna do the outro part because interim is basically one line. So hopefully I'll find out more answers to my ever-growing list of questions. So This is the first time I'm going to introduce multiple selection instead of a linear dialogue where you will always you were always doing like continue, next, 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 that kind of thing. This is where the mainframe is asking you like just type in your quest. So they are going to be numbered 1 to 4. So it depends on the type of player, but I think a lot of people in these games like the idea that they will choose from 1 to last option kind of in the same order. You don't have to, but the dialogues here are written in that sort of way. So let's assume the player typed 1 or chose 1. So tell me about the ship's current mission. So if we do that, this is going to be the line. And here we'll probably go back to the main menu where we'll get to see this. I mean, the whole thing. So 1 is going to say the ship, Copernic, the name may change, is currently on a supply run, although we are I think this is something I thought of this morning. I should specify. We are mainly a scientific research vessel. Our current mission is to deliver medical and food help to the colonists on Titan. So this is what Sophie was basically saying. Well, we are heading to Titan right now. So go back to the main menu, choose 2. Summarize the research done on this ship. Because we just learned it's a research vessel, right? So this is a state-of-the-art research vessel that is suited to conduct studies on hormone therapy, cognitive behavior, and human-computer interface. This doesn't tell us much yet, but we go back to the main menu. So give me a brief history of the ship. So this is probably going to be multiple entries here. I just tried to summarize it. So I'm going to list timelines and major events. I think the year in this game at this point is this. And I'm going to list a few major dates and what happened to humans. And here we are in year 2358. We go back to the main menu. Now, number 4 is conditional on reading the first 3 entries. So after you read all this, 4 will show up. So we are asking the computer who MBS is. Now, here's the I don't know how to say it, but I guess the interesting part, right? Since we now know from Sophie that the MBS is the ship, I suppose the moment you ask the ship's computer who MBS is, I guess this guy basically is aware of that fact, right? So the screen goes blank and you hear the voice of MBS. So MBS is basically saying, well, you're asking me who I am, kind of, are you spying on me? It's like, well, okay, why are you doing all this? Well, the reasons are my own, he says. And you had better have your own reasons for survival. What do you mean? Maybe 4 options can be represented as color also because it's also like choosing directions. I wouldn't want to mix directions with dialogue options though, because then we are mixing semantic choices to positional data. That doesn't make much sense to me. But we may come up with some other idea there to differentiate them. I'll keep that in mind. So what do you mean we say MBS's answer is you and I were after the same goal, but your approaches were always, for lack of a better word, docile. In the end, it didn't matter. Yes, I wrote this fast. It didn't matter, I suppose. Look where you ended up. So MBS is throwing a few clues here. Yep, no problem. So he's basically confirming that, yeah, we knew each other. In fact, he did not like our approaches in the past, and he's ridiculing us that like this is where we ended up, you know. So we say, Sophie implied that I'm a robot with a human mind. MB says, since you don't entirely know, yeah, since you don't entirely know what happened to you, I'll do you the courtesy. Probably need a spell check here. This might be right. Anyway, I'll do you the courtesy since Sophie didn't have the heart for it. Is it too difficult to draw a conclusion that you are Edward from the cognitive research group? Now, this dialogue may not make much sense right here, but in the third answer, in the summaries, it talks about the research group. Richard is the head of the research. Sophie and Edward are lab technicians, and the ship's major research is applying human consciousness on, let's say, robots. For some other reason, the text will explain. So here we get to see key people's names, some dates, some research elements, that kind of thing. So MBS is basically saying, like, is it too hard to draw a conclusion that you are Edward? So this is kind of a classic thing, actually. In a lot of stories, the hero, let's say, in this case, Mr. E, you know, kind of playing dumb. Like, you don't want to accept it. The truth is too hard to handle, right? So Mr. E is basically saying, like, well, I don't have sufficient data to come to that conclusion. Because MBS is basically saying, well, you think you are Mr. E, but you are Edward. And maybe the E in your Mr. E stands for Edward. But we don't quite know that. Maybe he's tricking us because MBS was a son of a bitch, right? So we don't know that. So it also makes sense because as a robot, Mr. E may also say, well, I don't have sufficient data to come to that conclusion. But there is this notion of, what if it's true, right? That kind of thing. So I want to create that suspense. MBS is saying, so we act like a robot now. Are we? I may have to fix the grammar there, but so basically he's further challenging us that, well, is this really the time for you to act like a robot, that you are very logical about this? Like, yeah, you don't have enough data, suddenly that's what you think. So yeah, you think I'm lying or deceiving you? I guess I really wrote this fast yesterday. Deny all you want or ask Sophie. Be quick though. Your human friends don't have that much time. And then the comm line, the communication is finished. And this is where we say, I'm coming for you, MBS, or some other word that's like, well, I'm going to take you down. That sort of thing. So this is where I think the demo will finish. And hopefully this is enticing enough that people will wishlist, and I'll get to write the rest of the story and implement it with some mechanics and puzzles and music, light effects, that kind of thing. And with that, I think what I'm going to do, I'm gonna get more tea and come back, and I'm going to start implementing these story elements with mechanics, and we'll see. So I'm not putting the stream on pause screen. I'm just gonna disappear and come back. I'm back. Okay. Watching your broadcast is a very illuminating experience for you. Almost midnight here, need to sleep. Gotcha. Cool. Thank you for coming. And I'll see you next time. Good sleep, good dreams. Okay, so a friend of mine told me that he sometimes watches my streams and he asked me whether I notice him, and I said no, because I don't get to see the viewers' names unless you type a message. Then I'll get to see your name. So otherwise you are just a number. It shows the number of viewers, but I don't get to see your name. So if you want to say hello, and yeah, bye to you. And also I'll try to keep in mind that I think there's a little bit of delay between what I'm seeing, what I'm showing, and what you might be saying. I'll try to be careful about that too. We'll see. So what's the next order of business? So this RTC drafting is useful, but I think this is something that I will work out outside of the stream, because this is not fun to watch, right? So besides, this requires some legwork, but after that I think it's useful. So I'll close this for now. I'm going to keep this tool open. Our immediate concern is basically how to show multiple lines of text in each section, say whether it's intro, outro, or a midpoint interim, right? Because whether we keep the dialogue here or in RTC draft, that is basically just, it's not usable as far as the game is concerned. So we need a data structure to display that data. Now I already have something very basic, which is here. This is the prototype, so there's only one piece of text, intro text and outro text. So there's going to be an interim text section and most likely multiple lines. But I also have to incorporate who is speaking those lines, right? So right now it's kind of you, and then you will turn into Mr. E. A female voice will be Sophie, that kind of thing. And there's the emotional part, there's the scene description part. Now, that's kind of an important decision to make. So let me go back to the stream goals. So today's goal is basically coming up with a data structure for those lines. And once I'm happy with the most basic setup for the first 2-3 levels, right, I can then do the level design according to those dialogue entries. Naturally, this is going to lead us to doing a much better job in level loading, because that was kind of like the shit show in the last half an hour of the previous week's stream. Because for some weird reason, I don't know, I'm kind of bitter about that, but like God of War doing the interactive loading, it turned into a shit show. And of course, while we are doing all this, we are going to have some UI stuff, because I think third level is the fuel cell. So we need to show something in the UI that will like indicate it, like you are running out of juice and here is more juice for you. So let's get going. So in terms of playability, this is where we see the outro. When I press continue, this is supposed to load level 2 with its intro text. This is the shit show that I'm talking about. In the meantime, I did the absolute minimum to load something it's done very stupidly. This has to be refactored, or not even refactored. It has to be re-engineered. Right now, this is level 2. We may have to fight that battle soon, but let's imagine when we launch the game, we are not launching level 1, but we are launching level 2. We could easily do that by... This is actually gonna go away, because it's supposed to be like this, level 001, and this should work as before. Okay. So I could easily change this to level 02, right? Let's do that. So when I launch the game, level 2's, this script of course has to be changed to level 2 GD. So let's find that. This is level 001, so we could do a save as. I'm going to dump it here. Okay. Now, this is where we may discuss some architectural choices. I'll try to explain it, but sometimes I may go quiet because I'm thinking. Hopefully the background music will fill in the void. So right now, every level is extending a level GD script, which is holding a level resource. So every level will have some resource. And in the ready for each level, we are saying, well, we just request the level info. This emit is going to trigger a chain of events. This is all going to go away. Bye. So show me the level info is the next thing. There is a HUD element here, which is this. And the HUD is basically saying, well, when the level info is shown, the game will know which level is currently being used. So that one will have its resource. Just fetch me the intro text. So in other words, for level 2, if we put this as text, as intro text, which is under resources, so I have to duplicate this. And this is some other system that I'll explain right now. Let me just type this in. And just bear with me. I'm kind of doing a few steps at a time. Okay, done. Now for level 2, which is assigned level 2 GD, which is basically wanting to have its own resource. And level 2 right now is using level 1 resource. So this new level 2 resource that I just created should be assigned here. And as you can see, this is the new entry. So level 1 resource is here, level 2 resource is here. So these resources are assigned to the levels. Now, since these are one-to-one, I will most likely remove this assignment protocol, because if you know the level ID, I mean, it's kind of a trivial job to go and fetch the resource file, right? So you should not be assigning things like this. This is always kind of like work in progress, and It's incremental changes and improvements. But for now, level 2 is assigned its own resource file. Level 1 is assigned its own resource file. Now, I just removed level 1 from the levels for the game. So this should reload. This should load. It doesn't, because when I change it here, it changed it as its inheritance. So when I change it here, level 2 is what's the name? It's an instance. So in this instance, I'm still, well, no, it's switched. Smarten up then. So you should be showing the new text here. You have the new text. Okay, unless I hard-coded something. Because this guy is firing level info showed, which is going to be passed down to this. Game get current level resource. What if this is returning the first level's resource? It must be, because I probably hard-coded, current level is set to what? 1. So I also have to hard code this. So this has to be 2. So it's going to fetch the level 2's resource file. And something is missing. The scene is there. Current level is 2. Get index 002 is correct. Yeah. I will also have to do this too. This is where you do comma. Okay, so I had to increment the current level index. So right now I'm manually loading the second level as the first playable level, right? So the text is here. This level is an identical copy except the player is positioned here, but the controls should still work. If I come to this area, I should be seeing the outro text for the second level. We do. So clicking this will ideally increment the index number and will fetch the 003 scene. And now we will continue like this. So we will move down here. So now is the time to do some architectural work. The preloading system, or the level loading, interactive loading, as I call it, shit show. This has to be re-engineered. Seems to be working fine right now, but it's awkward. Kind of thinking out loud. Even in level 2, we have multiple line of text. So how do we do that in resource system here? Now, besides the resource system, I've also been looking at the config file. Let's look at the documentation. Big config file. So the format is you have sections like this, and inside each section you have the E equals value. And the value could be numerical, string, could be vector. So this actually corresponds to game data. It's useful. So you don't have to do conversion. If this was a JSON file, you would have to hold X, Y, Z positions as separate entries because there is no such thing as vector3 data type in JSON. I don't quite know. Well, I do know. I just answered my own question by looking at it. This helper class can be used to store variant values. So anything that is variant, meaning there's actually a variant can store almost any data type. So that's what I was trying to say. It could be an array, I believe. Yeah. So anything that you see as a data type, anything that is a variant, that could be stored in config. Now, that may not be super helpful for holding dialog, but I've also been working out a save system. Maybe I'll do this for save files. For the time being, the reason why I'm actually kind of discussing all this is because here we have choices. And some of these choices will have multiple entries. So this is where we lose the linearity. Things are kind of branching out. And I'm guessing in the next levels we will have dialog options or choices where you may not be able to get back to certain previous options. So for a config file, when you read it, you could say get sections. You could actually do like for section in sections or get sections. The player config get value from that section. Maybe the section will have ID, and then this is where I can do the. This is like the we come up with some kind of ID system, so that's how we keep track of things. Because the alternative is JSON, and it's a similar idea. I will have to keep an array of objects. Each object is a dialog entry, sort of, but how they are connected to each other is the question. Okay. This is done. I'm just gonna try an array structure. Just testing stuff right now. So let's go to level GD. Right now this is a multi-line text. What if we have an array of multi-line? Not even sure how to do that in Godot 4. I think in Godot 3 we had array of string or like pool vector. I know group is used for grouping things in here. In fact, I think I'm using that in one of my scripts. I don't quite know what category does though. Oh, I think I do. This is my awesome category. I have to wrap this in double quotes. And when we double click this, it's gonna put this here. And when you group things, it basically is a group. That's fine. That's not quite helpful for now. We don't want a directory. We don't want a file, flags. We don't want any of that. Global dir, global file group. I just said multiline is what I'm using. Placeholder. 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 Exports a string property with a placeholder text displayed in the editor widget when no value is oh. No description. Say again. Name in lowercase, var character ID string. Exports a string property. Placeholder string. With a placeholder text displayed in the editor widget when no value is present. Right now. Gotcha. It kept it as null, that's why it showed null. Otherwise it shows WTF. Gotcha. So what if I did something like export var, and this is an array. So here's an array. So instead of having the array like this, okay, an array can be of type string. So essentially what I'm doing is string 2, but the interface is kind enough to offer multi-line text entry. This is essentially string 2. There is no such thing as multi-line data type. So if you go to here, I believe, was it in GD script? I think it was in GD script. There is a list where you see the type, the variant types, type of. This is the one. Right? String is 4. So when I type multi-line string, if I get type of, it should return type string. There is no multi-line as a data type, is what I'm trying to say. Double checking. There's something called string name. There's dictionary type, array type. Okay, act string array. This used to be the pool data type. String name. I think, yeah, this is not something I'll mess with. Yeah, immutable strings designed for general. Okay. Either way, I think our goal here is, where is it? It's an array of, let's do packed string array. So right now, since we know the data type, it's string, we can type it. When it was array, we didn't know type, and I can actually show that. Export var normal array as the name array. So when you do this, you're gonna have two elements where you just don't know the data type. This lets you choose the data type. Here, the first one could be a number, the second one could be a color, so you could do multiple entries. So the first one here is called a vector in C++. When the data type in the array is the same, it's a vector. Here is the array, like multiple data types, right? So we don't really need that in dialog. So we just are happy with string, although it would be nice to have this string field to look more like this. And that's a Google question. So Godot inspector, multi-line text, and array. How to show a big space to write a string which is multi-line. But exporting an array of multi-line strings is what we want. In Godot 3.x, it was possible to export an array of multi-line strings, which is this. I do remember this. This would result in a series of multi-line fields you could easily expand and fill in the inspector, such as this one. I do remember using this. Ideal for entering lines into a simple dialog system, which is exactly what I was using it for, which is exactly what I want to use it for. With its new export type annotations, Godot 4 doesn't appear to support this. Is there any way of achieving the same results? This is a known issue. Still, for the last few months, it is still a known issue. Hopefully, this is a known issue. Holy crap. We may actually do a CSV file. Would be helpful to change it in the interface, but most likely I'll feed the information. Yeah. So I didn't think this would be possible because the what's new, right? Anyway. Would be nice to have the flexibility to expose the data here. But do we really need that? Do we really need that? Because if we keep it in a CSV file or TSV file, I'm also thinking quietly, actually, but I should share it. There is a possibility that we might have multiple interim sections. Maybe always one intro and one outro. And they may have variable dialogue options and such. Like they may branch out. Inside intro and outro, you may actually have branching out sections, but you could also have multiple interims too, if the level is too big. That's a future worry. Right now, for the demo, trying to keep it simple. Let's look at our data here, or the information. Imagine this is just an array. Gotcha. Let's look at the most complex case here. Okay, this is complex enough. An array of entries. Still an array of entries. Maybe I do some kind of like rich text formatting. This is an entirely different beast. For now, I am going to keep it as an array of like pack string array. Okay, intro text. So this is going to be, I don't think it's gonna like this. Not gonna like this because it assumes this is actually a string. That's the problem. This is always thinking it has to be string, whether you type it in here or not. It's a string. This doesn't like the doesn't like this. Whether it's this. I think this is official. This is recognized now. It's proper syntax. Array of like that type. Like you could be doing this, I believe. Or am I? This is C#. Or was it this? Okay, so let's try this one. In fact, I just want to confirm that. Of course, you want to confirm it, you export it. That's QQQ. Size. Here string. Can we make this multi-line? You could not. Export multi-line annotation requires a variable of type string, but type array is the problem. They don't implement what we currently have. 3.5, so shame on you. So this is going to be act array. For now. Then I'll try to load it from a CSV file. For now, maybe in the next hour or so, this is what I'm gonna do. Of course, we lost all the information. Size 1. Here's the text. Where is the text? Do this. And outro text has one element, which is This is level 1 resource. Let's do the second portion here. This is actually 2 entries. Okay. So now whether this data is coming from a CSV file or from the interface, this has to change. Right now, you cannot just access this because this is an array. What we can do is stupidly do this 0. But if we have more elements, this has to be shown one after another. Right now, I'm going to run this. So what happened to me? Where is everybody? This is going to be just fine, and it's going to show the last text. And if I switch the current level to 1, it's going to display the first level's text. I'm not feeling that well, but I have this urge to keep going. It's fine. Didn't I make... Oh, let me see. Level... Wait a second. This is level 1. So the text is showing level 1. And yet the interface is level 2's interface, because in level 2 our dude is here. In level 1 is here. So why is it loading visual level 2? That's because I kind of hard-coded here. Because when the game starts, I'm not actually doing any proper... Gotcha. So this is where I was messing up with the save system, so that I would kind of play and then remember where I left off. So it would actually reload or start from that level. So let's do a basic load game. So I don't have to manually move things here. So this is going to work similar. We are going to have current level indicating what we are loading here. And the loading is going to be done as load next level. So basically, this is always looking for... Gotcha. So I can actually do this 0. And when I do load game, I'm just going to piggyback on load next level, which is going to increment it to 1. And kinda. After you do that, it's going to be set to 1. This is going to load 1. Do it. When it's done, it's gonna try to remove the child, and there won't be a child, but it's going to load it. So this will work. So this is level 1 text, and the dude is here. Remove the dude here. Reload. This text is kind of wrong, but we should actually have level 2 here. We don't. You did this, right? What was the level 2's text? What? Where is everybody? Is that what I'm seeing? No, this is still showing the outro for... Did it give it an error here? Would have stopped it though. No. Try again. Debugger is 13, so that's already corrupt. I like my players. The fact that this is saying it's actually loading. The text is not displayed. Text is not displayed because this is probably screwed up. Current level. I want to believe this is happening. One. Why are you outputting it? Oh. That's because of the DOM architecture. Because game is a singleton, so game is reloading itself. Basically, when I run the game in the remote, I'm going to have 2 game instances. And this is why I was talking about the shit show here. So keep going. Okay. Now one of these instances will actually have the proper level 002 and the other one is 01. In fact, in this instance, the current level will be 1 and in this instance will be, well, would have been 2. Except here's what's happening. Because it's reload, it's also doing this. It actually resets to 0 only to do this again. And then it's set to 1 and it stops there because there's no extra mechanism that actually triggers the reloading of the third instance. But if you kept doing this again and again, it would always show 1 because you would always reload the script set to 0 only to increment it once. Ideally, this would have to be incrementally going up. So should not have multiple instances here. It had to be at that point so that I would see this working. At least the text would be displayed or the level would be loaded here in the levels hierarchy. So that's the architectural thing that I was talking about earlier. So I think I'll hang out for another 15-20 minutes and then call it a night. Let's do a recap in the meantime. So this is kind of where we are, which entails some work in level loading, and this design is sort of not that important at this point. And the UI tidbits are naturally missing, but that would have been the fuel cell sort of running low. So what can I do now to remedy this loading problem? I find this a very messy system, so I try to do an infinite while that would break it, or that would be broken as soon as the resource is loaded. I find this a very messy implementation. There used to be a resource what was it, interactive loader. It is changed, and I don't think for the better. Here's my reason why I don't think it's changed for the better. I think there is a fundamental thing. The design of these functions are missing. It's just not done like the Godot way, in my opinion. Normally, you would have signals. When something is happening, like the resource is loaded, right? So you would get the status or the progress of that loading operation as signals. Like input events kind of work like that. When the mouse is over something, you are gonna have multiple signals firing, right? I'm currently over this, so you get the mouse position. Similarly, when you are loading something, you could get the load state, so you would feed it into the progress bars value. And here it's not done like that. You have to keep getting the status, which doesn't give you the loading progress, but it gives you the status of the loading, which is either loaded, finished, it failed at some point, or it's still progressing. While it's progressing, then you could read the progress, but you define the progress outside this call. You pass an empty array as a parameter. You keep questioning the progress. So an external progress array is filled. And ironically, although it sounds like it's an array of information, there is only one element. So you gotta do progress square bracket 0 to get the numerical value. So I don't even know why they are not passing floats. That would have been fine too. I don't know, maybe there's some reason, but either way, this looks so messy. I don't quite get it. And you have to use all these three. So you gotta do the request first. You are basically saying, here's my intention, I'm going to request something. And at that moment, it is requested. So you could theoretically try to get that resource. So basically say, I'm going to have a path, I'm going to request it. You could call the same path with this function. And if you are lucky, you are going to get the resource you want. But it may not be loaded. So you need some kind of a loop where you are checking the status. When you know the status is loaded, then you could call this. And where do you loop this is the problem right now. So in my opinion, that should have been done in a while loop. I've seen examples where people do it in process. I don't like to put things in process. I could be putting this in a function and I could be calling the function in the process, but then the meaning of this function is changed too. This is where I want to do my whole thing in load next level, right? We should not be spreading things out into different mechanisms. So it's a shit show, is what I'm saying. Now, I'm not entirely sure. This is the reason why I have few of these. Let me run the game again. In fact, I have two. Even though they are the same level. And if I don't do that, I needed that. Gotcha. That has nothing to do with this. But I needed that because so I need a higher level structure where I'm holding, which is basically the save data, right? That's why I was implementing this. So I need something like level manager. That might be an okay solution right now. And in the meantime, I'm going to create more efficient solutions. There's always a challenge between what I want to do in the long run versus what I can do during streams and what I should be doing during streams, because some things may either take too long during streams or it may be too boring. It's not good stream material. So some of these things may, of course, change, but sometimes it's about moving forward. So this seems to be all level information that is dumped in there. So we'll just do this. Level manager. This current level is not going to be there. I'm going to introduce level manager as, where the hell is level manager? I just dumped it in the middle of everything. So you should not be there. It should be in scripts. Maybe I'll group these in singletons folder later. For now, it's just going to sit there shamelessly. So now we are going to be level manager. Current level. In fact, this should work. And this is again current level. Next level path is also going to come from here. It's the nonsense I was talking about. We are setting it like this. There is a chance I will offload the level loading, not level loading to level manager, which will then pass the loaded level to the game object. What's the problem here? Levels. There is no such thing as levels. It's level manager levels. And I bet I have a few more instances. Yes. Yeah, there's a chance this will all go into level manager. Smarten up. You're not smart enough because you have one more. So that's that, and this is that. So like I said, maybe this is going to be the loading. So now when we come here, game get current level resource is not going to be asked or retrieved from game object. It's going to be retrieved from game. The fact that this is here and load next level, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to undo this and then dump all this in. Yeah, do it. Fuck it. Bye. Since it's a singleton, I could leave this. It's ugly, but I'll change it. Cannot do this anymore. This has to be level manager. Jesus. Okay. So, okay, looking more basic. Just load, do the first loading. Skip this. Here, you're gonna have level manager. See if this works. Levels remove. There is no such thing as levels. This is where we pass the a signal to the game object. So we could do signal level loaded. We could pass the level as an object. So event bus level loaded limit, and here is the object, and this is going to be done inside game. So here you sign up for level loaded, connect, say on level loaded. Get funky, and here's the level. This is going to be node 3D, could be just node, and here's levels. If you have a child, remove it, otherwise this is not gonna cause a problem, but add the child under levels. So let's run this. So here we go. In the remote, we now have only one game, levels level 001, right? Level manager is now controlling the current level. So when we come here, and this is the end of the first level, when I click this, in the remote section here, we have level 002. So this instance is swapped. Well, the old 001 is swapped with 002. Level manager is now going to show you. It should have. I did not do this kind of thing in here yet, because that's the leftover from last time. But when I manually do it, it's here. When I do level this, you could actually do current level. Fucking Christ. Plus one. So that's a minor thing, but the second level is loaded visually successfully, and I know how, because this dude is here versus level 1, he was here. Let's run things again. So level 1, he has to walk a straight path, as we all should in life, right? Here we are, so current level is 2. Let's look at level 2 in here. Level manager, current level is 2. I think that is kind of firing a little bit prematurely, because I'm still in level 1, technically. Because this is happening here, I should not primitively. That's the mistake that okay. I was jumping the gun here. Just run it again. Everything is working just fine. I'm just being picky about the number of. Mind you, that would have caused a different problem, because it would have asked for level 3, and there isn't. So come here. So this is the end of level 1. I'm going to press this. We are going to move on to second level. Here's 1, and here we go. In the second level, the guy is here. We have the intro text for second level, and this dude is also 2. So we have a proper working cycle of level, intro, outro, simple cases displayed, levels being loaded. So this is actually all good. Now we can move on to more advanced scenarios, such as, for example, stop the game. For example, in the intro for second level, we no longer have one piece of text, but we have two. I'm gonna run the game again. So right now, I'm in the first level. We have just one piece of text for intro and one piece of text for outro. But here, the intro, after this first piece of text, I should have something like continue or next, which should display me this line of text, which is hard to read because there is no multi-line text in New Godot inside arrays for whatever reason, I don't know. Which exists in Godot 3, by the way. You're joining the stream. Don't be disappointed. They may bring it to Godot 4, I don't know, but it's kind of disappointing. So anyhow, the second line will be something like this. I'm running out of juice. I need to access the fuel cell in the center of the room. So after we read 2 lines of text, then we'll say, okay, play this level, and then you get to control your guy. Trying to call a function a null value. I don't know why this is happening. That always worked. I don't know what's... Yeah, that was like a bizarre... Let me try that again. Did that happen just after we loaded the second level? Because this works. Like when you go left, I'll go here. Trying to call a function a null value. I was making a different point. Now I'm occupied with this. Trying to call a function on a null value. So it thinks tween is null. In fact, it shows null. And yet you're supposed to create a tween. If you can't create it, you're a core function. Like, it's not something that I do, you know. It's engine code. It's not custom function. It's not something like I should have called it somewhere. See me off. Get tree, create tween. Creates a new tween and binds it to this node. This is equivalent of doing this. My best guess is this player object is inside the second level too. So it's not capable of creating a new tween instance. But here's the problem. If I move kind of forward this way, that worked. Oh, not anymore. See, the old way when we had double instances of game, this did not cause a problem because maybe I was never visually seeing the player. I was outputting the text here. Okay, let's try the get tree. Create tween. Then the you bind self. Where did I read that? Now it doesn't. Okay, I'm confused. Just a second ago, you were... Are they two separate? What is going on here? Just create twin. Twin create twin. What is the class for this? It's a node. And yet when I call get tree, it's scene tree. Okay, let's just run it this way. Doesn't make much sense. Load. Okay, I think this is a good moment to stop because it starts to frustrate me like this because I really don't know what they are doing anymore with their new function calls, classes and such. I'm kind of questioning why I should switch to 4. Maybe too late, maybe still okay enough to go back to 3.5. Don't know. But this is where I'll stop for this week. So to recap, I think we have a somewhat working data structure for dialogues. This may have to be done again with CSV and external loading. We definitely have a much better level loading. This is where I'm stopping because I was going to design 1 and 2 based on the dialog options, which would have triggered the UIT bits to show field cell pickup and the low, running low as far as MR.E is concerned. But this is where I'm gonna stop. So I believe next week, by Friday or so, I'm going to create content. I'm basically going to take this to the next levels, right? And then the following week, the first few days or several days is going to be spent on bug fixing and polishing, maybe some like better UI, that kind of thing. And there will be some play testing here, and hopefully somewhere here I'll put this on Steam as playable demo. So that's the goal. But that's it for today. So thank you for joining me, and hopefully see you next Thursday. So